All right. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Now, today I'm going to be talking about the trade agreement between the US and the UK and how it is just a tariff drop and opening doors for effects to the UK that the UK might not enjoy that much. But let's continue. Okay. Uh, First of all, these are two desperate men. You have the tariff Reich desperate to obtain an agreement so he can go to his sycophant base. And you have a prime minister that was elected with a massive majority and that seemingly does not know what to do with it and that desperately needs to prove that he is doing something. So he made an agreement with India. Now he is making an agreement with the USA, and the both of them are calling them a free trade agreement, and it's not. A free trade agreement would mean something like Europe, like the EU, where you can freely trade with all the member states in the EU. This is not the case. Some goods will all continue to have some tariffs. Basically, what he did was cut the tariffs in half. That is it. I went to see the sign, and I cannot sit here and lie and be falsely optimistic when I don't consider it to be that much. I consider it a good thing. It's not a bad thing. If the UK will pay half of the value of the tariffs, that will always be good for the UK's business. But it's opening the door for the entry or into the into the UK of certain products that are fairly common in the USA, but that the UK has been saving their their citizens of hormone beef, chlorinated chicken, all of that. Okay. On the subject of chlorinated chicken, I think I have talked about this, but I will talk again. Quick explanation. To chlorinate chicken basically means to bleach clean the piece of chicken. Does that turn the chicken meat into something you cannot consume safely? No, unless you are eating innards or bone meat or whatever, it's fairly safe to consume that chicken. But the issue with chlorinated chicken is that it masks the problems the meat might have. What does this mean? This means that the meat might have parasites, might have been produced in a way that is not accordingly to the laws of animal welfare of the UK, and an inspector looking at the food, or even a common citizen, will not recognize the early signs, for example, of the infection of the meat by a parasite or by a pathogen or whatever. Because what bleaching does in reality, in practice, is to mask all of those symptoms, let's call it like that. And this is why countries like the EU forbade it. Because that way you are certain that the meat is reaching the consumer chain untouched. So if it has issues, it has issues. If it does not have issues, it does not have issues. So it's much safer for the consumer. And and there is another issue here, because if the UK effectively starts to buy those products. For example, let's a meat pie factory in the UK buys chicken in bulk from the US, cheaper, and it produces a lot of meat pies. Hmm? Those meat pies will only be forgive me. Those meat pies won't enter the EU, won't enter Ireland. You won't be able to sell them anywhere. So if you want to risk yourselves and have the meat pies and eat it in the UK, my friend, please. But that won't boost your production. That won't boost your exportation. That won't boost your business in the world. That will only allow you to buy cheap chicken to make meat pies. Nothing more. Do you understand what I'm trying to tell you? It's like a closed circle. And I wonder if that is worth cutting the tariffs in half. Because the tariffs in practice are not affecting the country that are being affected by it. Because but the issue here is that the UK has not made sufficient trade agreements to never replace, but at least, um, I mean, the lack of agreements that it had after Brexit. Sorry, after Brexit. So in practice, to me, this is nothing. It's innocuous, but it opens the door to other stuff. It opens the door that the USA, for example, can start to rob, rob is the correct word, business from UK producers and making the UK more dependent on the US. This also has political effects because US dependent UK, that it has always been this way ever since World War One, but that UK will be always looked upon as suspicious by the rest of Europe. So if Mr. Thomas thinks that with this agreement he won't suffer a thing, that relationship that he wants to build with Europe won't suffer a thing, I'm I'm sorry, but he is sadly mistaken. But to tell you the truth, from his behavior, I think he knows it. He is also desperate for results, because the far right, the fascists, and I call them the fascists because they are fascists in reform, they are growing because Mr. Starmer is not being truthful to people, and now he is trapped in the same web of lies that the Tories were. Not as extreme because they are not the same party, they don't act the same way. I have said this before, they have done some good things, and they are not all bad. They are not that stupid also. But he still is unable to just come up to people and tell them the truth. Why is it so hard to tell the truth? To look at look people in the eye and tell them, look, this is a situation we have. We are losing money. We are hemorrhaging. It's it's an open gush wound that is called Brexit, and it is destroying the country. And there are ways to solve this, my friends. Complying with the bloody TCA. Why not? Do you think it will take a lot of time for the EU to get fed up of this shit and simply start taking the UK to court? And do you think this won't happen? Do you know what is the only reason still has not happened? Because it's expensive and because of Ukraine. UK, meaningless. The issue is this: the UK is also a part of European defense. This is something people have to understand. When this charade in the East is over, when we finally get rid of that blooming Russian dwarf, when he goes back into Siberia and do whatever he likes to do, riding bareback in horses or barebacking some horses or whatever the fuck he does, when that shit ends, there will be a lot of open tabs on people and on countries. And then heads will roll. Not literally, at least I think not. And what the UK is doing now is trying to ride both ways, acting in an opportunistic fashion. And when ends, both sides will know they were taken advantage of. Bit of a harsh word, but it's the truth. And then the ones taking advantage will get the just reward. So, what is my opinion of this agreement? It's nothing. It's cutting tariffs in half and allowing U.S. producers to export underpair products into the UK. But I will say also this: it's their business. I don't care. I care about my friends in the UK. I care about the people know in the UK. I've talked about this before. But what can I do? Little voice on the internet. I just know this won't be good. But who am I? I hope everything at least ends up being a little normal, even if the normalcy is not something I am waiting for from this entire business. Good luck, UK. Goodbye.